All right, so being the only non-real coder in the group and the IT expert of the group, I get to talk about this really fun story that I'm sure nobody's ever heard about. Um, Nobody in America has heard about
Oh,
the largest
what
IT
happened?
outage. I know, right? So imagine it's 1999 and you are in Hawaii and it's the turn of the century. So I am in Hawaii on December 31st, 1999. And I'm like, am I going to be able to get home tomorrow? Is the question. Are all the computers are going to completely crash? Well, it happened, except for just now. Instead
It's
of
just
back then.
24 years late.
It's just 24 years late. So what happened was CrowdStrike is a basically an antivirus that a lot of large corporations use on different computers. Did an update, and what it updated was in the kernel of the operating system. And when it did that, it basically blue screened every single computer that had that program. And unfortunately, there was a lot of companies using that program. I even had employees come and ask me, hey, are we going to have a problem today or anything? I'm like, no, we're fine. We don't use that program. So there was a lot of confusion, especially for people who are not as familiar with the IT space, like, oh, all these Windows computers are blue screening, and they're really blaming like Microsoft, thinking that any Microsoft computer is going to be vulnerable. They think it's an attack. They think it's a virus or things like that. No, really, it was just a really bad update that like tanked everything. So, I have a fun story. Delta is, I think, one of the hardest hit from this entire situation.
Still recovering today, like days later.
Yeah, and so Salt Lake City being a Delta hub, there were I have a friend whose child was on a humanitarian trip out of the country. Now, the humanitarian trip basically ends once they get back to the United States. Like you have to get your child to the like Miami airport or the or LAX, and then they take the kid from LAX to the other country, whatever. But once you come back to LAX, then trip is over and there's no more leaders or anything like that. So they get back to Miami, and this 16-year-old girl is stranded in the Miami airport by herself for 72 hours until she was able to finally get a flight to Vegas and then Vegas to Salt Lake City. But 16-year-old girl by herself in the Miami airport. And I was just looking at our news, like, because there was apparently several kids in the same situation. Obviously, they weren't on the same humanitarian trip, but so they didn't know each other, that they were all like hanging out in the Miami airport by themselves for the last like 3 days. But I mean, I can't even imagine as a mom, my child stuck in an airport for that long of a time. Like, how can you fail in this massive, like, I just don't understand why,
It's
like,
really not good.
how it took so long
It's
to
not like
get
she had
these
the option of
computers
going
back
to get
up.
a hotel or something, is it? Or buy or
No.
get a rental car
Why
or do
couldn't you
anything.
get a hotel though? You could.
She's
How's
16.
she gonna get there? I mean,
You
she could
call
probably
it.
Uber, but like, I mean, a 16-year-old with their own hotel room, I don't even think she can.
I don't think you're allowed to.
Yeah.
You call and get it made for them.
The hotel
Right.
chain doesn't care. Yeah, you could do that, but the
Right.
hotel chain's not going to let a 16-year-old check in. The hotels won't even let 18-year-olds check in. You have to be
Yeah.
25 to check into a hotel. Like, it's just not a thing that's like an easy option to do.
I don't know. I'm a dad. I'd get it done.
Right.
It's like
I
you're
mean,
letting them
my
in.
friend was like this close to like flying down there,
Right,
like
yeah.
using some other like, and I think they might have even, I think they ended up booking her on like Southwest or something
Right.
to
Yeah. I'm
get
booked on a
her.
different airline. Yeah.
Right. But like very expensive to get her out of Miami. And
Yeah.
like, I just can't even imagine. But like, yeah, so Delta is still recovering. And this has been like, it's going to be almost a week by the time they're like fully operational. And it's crazy.
So
go
one of
ahead.
the things I think happened, I don't know about Deltas, but what made this hard was in normal mode, there were some settings you put in the registry and just reboot the computer and it would work. So, but when you have racks and racks of computers, that could take some time.
Sure.
But the biggest problem people had was they encrypt the disks at rest, and then they store those keys on other computers, which were in turn bricked. And therefore, they couldn't reboot the machine because they couldn't get to the keys and they were bricked. So
they're using BitLocker.
BitLocker.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. So that I would imagine that no one thought about, well, the computer I put it on could be bricked. What do I do?
Yeah.
Imagine they're asking themselves that question today. I imagine that's what happened at Delta. And so what they're probably having to do is bring in brand new machines and put new machines up.
100%. 100%.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy that's the solution to this. Because I think you're right. I think for a lot of people, the solution was there was a way you could delete a file and reboot it. But you have to have a certain level of access to even do that in the first place to the machine. Corporate PCs, you got no chance.
Yeah, but if you're in IT, you can reboot it in safe mode.
You can, but you had to do it on every single machine. Right. If you work at Bank of America and you're using this, that's a lot of machines you got to manually reboot and delete files on, right?
Yeah.
This is not, because the problem was you couldn't get past the initial boot, right? So you weren't in Windows, mode. So you couldn't remote in, so you couldn't do anything remote. You couldn't push out an update.
No.
You had to do it on the machine. Yeah. Which was so difficult to do in this case, which then brings us back to, so who's at fault here? People have blamed CrowdStrike. They blame Microsoft. Mm-hmm. So then what happens? Did you see the story that Microsoft then pushed the blame to somebody?
Microsoft pointing the finger at the EU. So the reason they're blaming the EU is because they are not able to put a security feature on the Windows computer that would disable the ability for a third party to access that area in order to cause this kind of damage. So it's the EU's fault that we can't build our operating system the way we want to because you're limiting us.
And this is why you don't let politicians make software changes.
Exactly. Right. This is why, Apple has resisted this same thing for the longest time. They shut this thing down. They don't have this. You can't do the same thing on a Mac OS. It's shut down. And I think Windows and Microsoft have wanted to do that, but because of the EU, cannot do that. So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen there. Are they going to force Mac OS to have the same vulnerability? Or are they finally going to realize, maybe this isn't a good thing?
Just kidding, guys. Go do whatever you want. We're good.
So there's the same thing happens in gaming a lot. So there's a lot of these cheating detection softwares, a lot of BattleEye and those kind of things, and they'll brick your computer too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they're installed as rootkits. Basically, they run at the kernel level. So it's a problem. What I think there's a lot of bad takes on the internet of this because I was looking at the internet and you see all the bad takes. The worst take all was it was a DEI employee or someone that was unqualified pushed the change out, and I'm with Scott Hanselman, who I follow a lot, who I like a lot. These guys runs .NET over at Microsoft or whatever. So he works for Microsoft. He's got a skin in the game. He's like, dude, he says, even if it was the most junior of junior person that was completely unqualified, pushed the change and that's not how this update got pushed out like this.
Yeah.
There's 1,000
It wasn't
other
one
people.
dude pushing a button.
Yeah,
exactly.
He says this is CrowdStrike. He said this was a system-wide company failure, regardless of who the junior engineer was that pushed which I doubt was anyway.
Sure.
Right. And there were
who has
all these
that
guys,
kind of access. Yeah.
It's possible, but not with CrowdStrike. It's not possible.
Right.
It's just not possible. If it is, then the CEO of the company needs to go down and go, how did this happen? And one guy pushed it and then him and him alone, he Frodo'd this thing all the way to the top. So
he's taking the one ring.
Yeah. So that's not what happened. And so I thought that was a really bad take. The other bad take was, I think the president of CrowdStrike just came out and didn't apologize, just said, basically sucks to be you. I thought that was a bad take on his part, where he didn't say, we identified the fix, we're fixing it. And everyone's like, no apology, bro.
Right.
You just shut down the internet today.
Yeah, it is weird that he doesn't feel like he's responsible for it. I thought that too. That does seem like a strange take, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, why does he feel that way? Is it they made the mistake, but is it some other reasoning? And I'm guessing for whatever it was, I guess there is some technical thing behind it. I didn't I don't understand it fully technically, but something to do with a null reference pointer.
A null pointer in C Sharp
null
or
pointer
C++.
Yeah, so there you go. It's something, basically it's like pointing at something that doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So that's what kind of crashed it and blue screened or whatever. But it's like, So I don't understand it fully from a technical point, but sure. I mean, if somebody should have found that, I'm guessing. And
should have been tested.
Right. So why wouldn't CrowdStrike be like, feel responsible for it? It seems weird that they don't. And they kind of pushed it onto Microsoft, and then Microsoft just kind of didn't push back at CrowdStrike. They pushed back to EU, which is like, this is just
Your
like
fault.
passing
Your
the
fault.
blame along this line of...
And in Microsoft's defense, it wasn't their fault. It's another piece of software that's running on it. But I think when you look at the stock market and you look at price and you look at all the takes on the internet, Microsoft largely got blamed for this. No one's really blaming CrowdStrike for this. Right. Everyone says, why aren't you using Linux? You know, the worst take was all, it's like, you only run Macs in production. I'm like, these are servers, man. They don't have one that no one wants to use, or they would. I mean, like, you know, like,
yes.
Yeah, I've got these Mac servers, this rack of Macs.
It's just not happening. So, like, you know, so it's just not realistic, you know, and like,
no,
it's just really a lot of bad takes, a lot of people like showing how they would fix the code and stuff like that. And it's just like really, our programmers, sometimes we're just kind of insane when we have bad takes.
Yeah, like I said, most like lay people who don't know technology only saw that it was Microsoft computers, and like
that's what the news said. That was what was all over the news. Like Windows dies, blue screens of death. Right. It's a bad look for them. They didn't.
They don't know anything about CrowdStrike. They're just like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I know what Microsoft Windows is, and so
I think CrowdStrike probably became a household name over the weekend.
Yeah.
because like, if you hadn't heard of it before, then you have now. Yeah. But this goes to show you that for me, this is like one of those situations where when a company does so well and they're on so many, like they're literally they own the Fortune 500 space, right? But the Fortune 500 space is what powers the world. Right. So when they have a piece of software that goes down that affects every single one of their customers, this is where like...
You don't use it anymore.
Exactly, you don't use it anymore. This is where like fragmentation is a feature, right? Like every not using the same thing is a literal feature, because this took down almost all the airlines, right? Let's say one of the airlines wasn't using it. They'd have been like, we're good to go. Like they'd have had people fly, they'd have all their flights sort of in full.
Have you seen the tweet from Southwest? Like I think I downloaded it.
Did they not use it?
No, they don't. And like, it was a funny tweet. I wonder if I can find it again.
But that's what we need, right? We need fragmentation in this in a space like this, because when one of these things does go down like this, which is always going to happen, I don't care what happened and how many things you put in place to fix it again, something else will happen that will take this thing down again, or something else like this, where it is one of these infrastructure things that nobody knows exists until it doesn't work.
Right.
It will happen again. So the more players we have in those spaces that do these things, the better it is for kind of humanity, because we rely on it so much.
I would think that airlines would have like, I know they can't do it because of cost, but it seems like you would be rotating servers in and out of production, and you would have like 40 of these boxes on a shelf.
See, that would be too smart and cost too much money. But
it may be 1,000 servers. I'm not really sure how many they have. I mean, they probably have quite a bit more than I'm thinking. I mean, like there's a lot. I'm sure they're thinking about those questions today.
I'm sure
the problem is holding stuff in on a rack that's not used is a cost, and then it ages out. And so in cloud, you're supposed to be able to just scale up anything. So apparently they're not totally in the cloud or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how they're put together. It seems like they could have spun up things in the cloud and got rid of the other box and pull them out.
Do you think some kind of like virtual machine solution could have like been a better fix here? Is that
maybe it's really expensive to run Delta on that, or they haven't done that yet.
Sure.
I don't really know. Can guarantee you that it's very, very complex what they're doing.
Right. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And so there's a lot, and then a lot of it's probably fairly old too that runs. Same way with banks. It's not like they run cutting edge because it just works and they just need to keep it working.
Yeah.
So it's a tough nut to crack. So I don't really call them dumb for not being able to do it. I am surprised they're the only ones that haven't fixed it yet. So like, they're definitely the slowest on the uptake here, but it is a tough nut to crack. So I feel bad for them. Yeah. I don't like the bad takes on the internet where people just assume things are easy. It's like the guy who said he could fix Twitter in 2 weeks, and Elon hired him, and he quit 2 weeks later.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
I also think this is one of those things where we heard about big things, right? So we heard about airlines. There was some news, Sky News in the UK, like couldn't do the news because their computers were down. Yeah. It's like they couldn't do TV, right? It's like
911 operators.
911 operators was another big one.
Those.
Yeah, like essential infrastructure things. But then there's also things that are more fringe, like I saw a thing about the trucking industry came to a standstill because they couldn't load and unload the trucks because none of the computers works. Mm-hmm. It's like there's all these fringe like use cases where I'm sure there was some food places they just couldn't, like the tills were down or whatever because they're using Windows and they couldn't fix it. There was a lot of people. DMV was down, right? I actually went to the DMV yesterday to renew my license. They were telling me that they had leftovers from Friday because the computers were all down on Friday.
Yeah.
There was hundreds and hundreds of industries that got an outage from. This is what makes it the largest thing because it affected Windows. It was the core system that everybody uses. And if you use CrowdStrike in combination with that, you were down. That was it. Windows and CrowdStrike, you were down.
Right.
And understand why Microsoft tweeted this. One of the lead engineers said it was only 1% of all machines in the U.S. from Windows. And I'm like, that's a bad take, bro.
I'm also not buying it. I don't believe it's got to be larger.
It was 8.5 million machines, they said, that had CrowdStrike on it.
That's so many, yeah.
But that's 1%
every
of the
single
machines.
That's crazy. Well, this is because, don't forget, you're counting the PC that's on my desk in that, right? So Correct. It's like, mine's not going to go down. I don't use CrowdStrike, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I get it. If you counted how many percentage of business machines went down, it's way more than 1%.
That is
It's however many percentage of market CrowdStrike has.
Right.
That's how many went down. So find whatever that number is, that's what went down.
Yeah, there's no such thing as bad publicity, except for in this case, I think.
But I think the funniest tweet was Scott Hanselman, who I follow over .NET. And his funniest tweet was, he says, I hate it when I get blamed for something my roommate did.
That's a good take. That's a good take.
I was like, that man is funny. I thought that was pretty funny.
And this is why Microsoft's like, wasn't us. Like, we didn't do it. It's EU and CrowdStrike or whoever. Just wasn't us.
Servers went dark, the lights went out. In the world of cyber, there's no room for doubt. CrowdStrike faltered in the midst of the night. Security's finest lost their fight. Firewalls fell, defenses breached. A lesson in tech within our reach. Data left hanging, threads unwound. In the silence there's a haunting sound. CrowdStrike, striking the crowd. Microsoft Windows is falling down. CrowdStrike, striking the crowd. No one's going anywhere, staying on the ground. Engineers scrambling, trying to restore the fortress we trusted, shaken to the core. Users in panic, fingers to the keys. A cyber nightmare brought to its knees. Promises of strength, now put to test. A glitch in the armor, no time to rest. Resilience rises in the face of defeat. Picking up pieces, finding our feet. CrowdStrike, striking the crowd. Microsoft Windows is falling down. CrowdStrike, striking the crowd. No one's going anywhere, staying on the ground. Echoes of lessons in the breach you wake. In the tech world, there's no room for mistake. Together we stand through the glitch and the grind.